Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to build an easy workshop that won't break the bank. So before the video starts, I do have a cheat sheet right here because there are a lot of detailed points that I want to say during the video, and I can't really quite remember all of those in order. So you might see me look down my note from time to time, but don't judge me. And also, this video is not going to be a detailed walkthrough of how to build IKEA kitchen stuff. There are plenty of videos on that already, and just by following the manual is easy enough. Since this can be a fairly long video, we're going to divide it into 6 different parts. I'll have the timestamp down in the description if you want to jump around. But if you do have the patience, please watch it from beginning to the end because it contains a lot of useful information that I wish I even know before we start assembling our workshop here. So what we use in our setup, basically what you can see right here is all IKEA kitchen furniture. This island right here is it's an industrial packing table from Uline. It looks not as good as I thought it would be because it's a composite wood top, but still it's very sturdy. We're gonna cover the details later on. The total cost, all the IKEA kitchen stuff cost around 2,000 Canadian. It's relatively inexpensive consider how big it is and how many cabinet we have. The packing table from Uline in the middle there cost 340 Canadian. It's one of their cheapest model, and price can vary based on the size and also the build of the countertop. So why Uline? Uline, relatively speaking, is a very reputable brand, and we use a lot of their product throughout our business. We don't really want to custom build a dedicated island because first, I don't have the skills to build it, and second, it's probably going to take longer for me to build it and to learn how to build it. And also, I don't want to kill myself during the process. We can actually buy another 4 or 2 IKEA cabinet, those lower ones you can see down there, and then put them back to back with a kit that IKEA sell to turn it into kind of a kitchen island. But the thing is, it's not as durable or as strong as we like it to be. And for the middle island there is probably going to be our main working area. So it should be strong enough for us to like bang things on it, or at least for me to stand on it, just in case we need to move around things in the shop. And also, we would love to have an option where we can adjust the legs. I'll talk about this later in the video, but this room is pretty slanted this way. So there are a lot of things that we have to accommodate during our build. And also the room itself is quite limited in size. So we only have a few options before we found the Uline table that fit our room. And the funny thing is, before we buy everything, when I was doing my research, I couldn't find a perfect fit for what we need. But when I got home, I got an ad from Google, like when I did a random Google search, suggesting the Uline table, and it turns out to be the perfect fit. So it's kind of scary, but I guess convenient. And why IKEA furniture? First, it's very affordable and also pretty nice looking for what we paid. And at the same time, it's very modular. We don't actually need all the shelves and drawers that you probably need in a normal workshop because most of it is still a filming area. We're not really gonna do any legitimate work on any of the surface. So in our case, form is more useful than function. So we basically purchased an empty IKEA shell that looks nice, but it's pretty much empty inside. If you want to store a lot of things in it, you can put more shelves, more drawers. It's decently sturdy to use as a general work surface. And later down the line, if we end up needing a lot more storage area, because you guys can't see behind the camera, there are a ton of stuff on the shelf. If we want to took any of those, put it into the cabinet, we do have the options to put in more shelves as we need it. On to our, I guess, tips and tricks about the whole setup. IKEA do have an online application to plan all their kitchen furniture. And it's generally speaking very useful and pretty convenient to be able to see what it's going to look like in a very generic room. But there are still a lot of limitations due to it's a web application. During the design process, you put in whatever cabinet you want into the design, but the more cabinet you put in, the more lag it'll have, to the point where at the very end, it's really hard for us to move anything around. It functions as it is, but there are a lot of room for improvement. There are a few small bugs that we found because sometimes you cannot change the default orientation of a furniture or a cabinet. Say for all those like taller, these 2 tall cabinet there, by default it has the smaller cabinet door on the top and then the large door at the bottom, which looks really strange. I don't think there's a way to flip it around, even though you can do it like in real life. Generally speaking, some small bugs here and there, like they tell us we definitely need spacers between our cabinet, even though we can't fit any of those. And it turns out to be okay even we didn't install any spacers in between each cabinet. At the very end, there's one thing that you guys have to remember, like do not, I repeat, do not order from IKEA online store. I'll explain more about this later in the video, but if you want to do any workshop setup or a kitchen rebuild, you can do the design like to your heart's content on the IKEA web application, but after that, just print out whatever you need and then bring it to a physical IKEA store. Either talk to one of their employees in the kitchen area, or just go straight to the checkout, buy it, and pick it up yourself. Onto some tips and tricks or small details that small things that we encounter during the build. I'll try to list all those tips in a chronological order so that I'll talk about things that we encountered first and then all the way until the very end. First of all, we didn't actually install the cabinet by their default way of installing it. If you get it from IKEA and do the online planning tool route, it'll suggest you to buy rails for all the cabinet basically. You hang them on rails first and then you put screws at the back to screw them in the wall, and also legs at the front. Now, those legs are pretty much just fake for the looks. Most weights are set on the rails. But in our case, we screw 2x4 on the bottom of the cabinet, and then pretty much sit our cabinet onto the 2x4 and screw them into the wall from the top. I hope this makes sense, but instead of hanging it on the wall, we sat it on a 2x4, which feels a lot more sturdier and safer, but I can't tell any disadvantage of IKEA's rail system, so I don't really have a recommendation in that case, but it's definitely an option to not do it the IKEA way. Because we didn't install it on the rails, this is not even listed in the manual. There's a bracket on the very top of each cabinet for you to at first hang it onto the bracket and then screw it into the wall. Since we didn't use the rails, we have to modify it because our cabinet won't sit flush to the wall. But someone at IKEA actually thought about this, and if you move the bracket one slot in, like use the other 2 screws instead, it fit perfectly with another plastic insert that they gave you, and it can be hanged on the wall that way with no seams at all behind the cabinet. In total, there are 2 types of hinges, 125 degrees and 153 degrees. 153 degrees hinges is a lot wider, and it can open pretty much like almost all the way, and it's designed to accommodate internal drawers. I believe it's a bit more expensive than the normal hinges. You can change those, depends on your need. If you're not gonna put any drawers inside the cabinet, you don't have to go our route. There are also 2 different types of drawers in total. One called Maximura and one called Forvara. Those names are really awkward. I will strongly recommend you guys go with the Maximura line because those drawers are those like fully extendable drawers. You can pull them out all the way. Both reviews online and build quality are much higher than the other cheaper option. Since we're talking about drawers, please remember to buy drawer front because drawer front are sold separately from drawers, which is good to know. They comes in different sizes, depends on what size of drawers you need. And I guess don't mess up the order because sometimes drawer fronts can get back ordered for some reason for a very long time. And in our case, dealing with IKEA's online customer service is really slow. So do the right choice at the beginning just to avoid any inconvenience down the line. And onto the hinges. Obviously for the smaller door panel, it requires 2 hinges. And for the larger door, you can see right there that we're still missing one of. Requires 3 hinges. For the smaller door, you need 1 slow shut damper. And for the larger one, you need 2 to properly slow it down when it closes. And also a lot of item comes in pairs. I think those hinges comes in pairs and also those slow shut dampers. So be sure you count all of them correctly before you place any order. Just to avoid any inconvenience down the line when you're actually building stuff. And even though the entire system looks very modular and you can put shelves and drawers wherever you want, but there's still a lot of limitations. In our case, we choose to put 3 internal drawers on one of our like tall cabinet. The lower door hinge on the door can block a few slots of the drawers, which means we have to move the drawer a few slots up. That gives us a huge like empty space that we don't really have a use for. And also save yourself some time by using a coarse line laser when putting all the shelves if you want them at the same height. It's much faster than counting all the different like holes on the side to put in the pins. In our case, we ordered a countertop with a thin layer of wood on top of composite material. It's a lot cheaper than real solid wood countertops, but still a bit more expensive than laminate options. Now, in our case, we have to remove this much of it, and it's, as you can see, in the middle is just regular IKEA, I don't know what material you can call this, but engineered or compressed wood. It's very sturdy once you put it on top of the cabinet, but because of the material they use in the middle of the countertop, they provide you some edging strip to basically stick on the side to make it look like a real wood again. They provide you with two, and it's very, very fragile, and that's probably they give you two. And last but not least, I guess the most frustrating or time-consuming part is to adjust all the door panels to make them level with each other. IKEA does provide a very detailed manual to tell you how each hinges work, and it's not that hard to do, but just takes a while. And again, in our case, we used a coarse line laser, which helped us a ton because it's really easy to see which panel is like misaligned. And now about our U-line packing table, even though it's not as nice looking as I thought it would be, but it's very good, it's very sturdy. I feel very comfortable standing on it. I'm like 82 kilograms. At the same time, there are multiple sizes and different accessories that U-line provide for this table itself. You can put like power bars or power socket or even like a workshop backboard onto the workstand. Even though U-line does provide wheels that's specifically designed for this packing table on their website, we choose to make our own bracket so that we can do minor adjustments on different height of different legs. Because as I mentioned, this room is slanted a little bit. There's at least 1 inch drop on that side of the building. So we have to make two of our legs a bit longer, but not too much than the other two. Onto the topic of the room not being actually flat, because of that, we have to extend the legs on all our IKEA cabinet to make it look right, to make the fake foot actually touch the ground instead of floating in the midair. Now to the problems. We didn't really encounter any problem that we can't solve on the physical side. There's one thing that our large cabinet door can open beyond 90 degrees because it got blocked by the corner of our countertop. I don't know if there's gonna be a good solution for this, but it looks really weird and defeats the purpose of a wider hinge. And at the same time, one of our large door panel was damaged during shipping. We noticed that right after we put it on there, and we called IKEA immediately. IKEA sent us a FedEx truck to pick up the damaged door that Friday, because for some reason they have to see the damage first to give us a replacement part. And then they promised us we'll get the replacement part next Tuesday, which never showed up. Thus, we called them again. They first outright denied that they promised us and then set us up on this week's Tuesday again. But on this Monday, they called us again, said for some reason the door panel is still not here, it's still not ready. We have to delay it for another week. And at this point, we're already almost 3 weeks without a door panel. And of course, I'm like pretty angry about this situation and talk to the IKEA representative. All they can do is issue a refund on our like IKEA online order, and then tell us to buy it again in our local store. Even though the local store have 12 in stock, they cannot ship it from the store to an address. So for some reason, IKEA online store is totally separate from local IKEA store. And that's why I said, if you have any chance, just go to a physical IKEA location to buy whatever you need and then order the part that you're missing. But also make sure you definitely want those because the return process can be really lengthy and a pain to deal with. Now on to, I guess, a conclusion or summary of this video. First of all, use IKEA kitchen furniture as a garage setup is perfect. Like, it's very cost effective, it looks pretty good, and it can be very practical if you put a lot of shelves and drawers in it. It might not be as strong as some of the custom build, like solid wood option, but for most people, in most cases, it's good enough. And also, in a lot of situations, you don't need whatever we purchase because we have those taller drawers just for it to look nice. And also, you can skip one of the bottom drawers to make it a sitting area. That's what we gonna do at the very beginning, but we changed our minds to have a middle island. Even including the U-line table, all of it cost under $2,500, and that's Canadian. So if you're in the US, it's probably gonna be under $2,000. The entire building process is pretty repetitive, but very easy because it's IKEA stuff. And you can just read each steps from the manual. Generally speaking, pretty good, but with some misleading information that we definitely want to clarify next week. I guess stay tuned for that. At the same time, the modularity of the furniture itself provide future expandability. Like say in the future, if you want to add in more drawers, more shelves, you can do so because it's all from IKEA. And I believe IKEA will keep this product line for, I say at least another 5 to 10 years. And again, at the very end, I'm highly recommending the Uline packing table there. Even though it's not as beautiful as we thought it would be, but it does offer other options for countertops. Like they do have a maple top that's double the price, and also stainless steel. I don't even know how much that would be, but they have a lot of different sizes, a lot of accessories. It's just, generally speaking, a very nice and heavy duty table that I recommend to a lot of different situations, even though it's for packing. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to our channel. We do have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, link down in the description. Please go bother a social media person, that's me, and say hello. So see you next week.